And it's really fascinating. And I've got all the receipts in this book of how the group was formed, how it operates today, who is involved, the women, the female story of this thing is just amazing. So it looks like Michael is ready. I'm going to bring him in. My friend, how are you?
Oh, it's another day in paradise here. I'm in Texas, up from Panama. Last time we talked, I was in Panama, right?
Yes, yes. So I wanted to have you on because I saw what you were posting about Governor Abbott and everything, and I think you're spot on. But can you just give us the overview of what you're seeing in Texas with the immigration and deportation or lack of it?
Yeah, actually, let's see here, where to start. I spend a lot of time in Texas. I've been across the entire southern border from SpaceX on the Gulf side to San Diego. Took many months, did it on many trips and spent many a night there on that ground on the Mexican side as well. And so I'm familiar with that border, and I'm familiar with a lot of the other things going on in Texas, such as the colonias, or a colonia is a colony, right? So Mexico is colonizing the United States. They're open about it. They don't hide it. Reconquista. Everybody seems to know this in the Mexican world, but the Americans are just like, there's no Reconquista. It's like, actually there is, right? 100% there is. And so, and it's because Mexico claims a big part of the United States, including all of Texas, right? And all of California and whatnot. So, in that framework, they have a right to Reconquista, reconquest. And so, they're doing it. And there's people like Abbott who are helping, not just Reconquista and La Raza, which is the race, which is an incredibly racist group, actually, makes, pretty much all the racists look the same, with their extremity. But so Governor Abbott here in Texas, we know that he is aiding and abetting this. He does it openly. He does bow and do some kayfabe now and then and make it appear that he's doing something. But anybody that even scratches the surface, which we do much more than scratch the surface, knows that Abbott is World Economic Forum. He's on their website. Yesterday, I was watching a video on the Texas House of Representatives. It was a hearing, and it was actually testimony. And the chair of this actually welcomed his stakeholders. The Texas House of Representatives used the word stakeholders.
That's a WEF term, definitely.
100%. That's like Heil Hitler WEF style. I mean, literally welcoming your stakeholders is like starting with some whatever your special salute is for your organization, right? That's what he did. Yep.
Totally.
And so a couple of days ago, I've spent a lot of time over at Colony Ridge researching that with our Burning Edge team. We've taken a lot of people there, congressmen, and just tons of people. And we put it on the map thanks to Todd Bensman, had written about it in his book. Actually, Todd got his tip from law enforcement over there who were very upset. So Todd put it in his book, Overrun. I read that, and then Todd took me to Colony Ridge 2 or 3 years ago. Then we found a patriot, or I found a patriot named Dave Cannon. He has a helicopter and an airplane, and he would take us on flights over Colony Ridge, which he flies over all the time anyway in his normal work. And so Dave just took me for a flight again 2 days ago, went over helicopter and then came back later with the airplane and got higher. And we can see now that Trump is in office, most of the construction seems to have stopped. Since the last time I was at Colony Ridge, a great deal more construction has occurred. But then when Trump got into office, there is a little bit of construction going on, but most of it stopped. Now, Colony Ridge is near Houston. It's in Liberty County, for those who are familiar with Texas, Liberty County, and it's meant to be home for 200,000 aliens. They got a school there built with U.S. tax dollars teaching Mandarin. Most of the people there are actually Latins, though, but they're teaching Mandarin at the school, right? Wow. And so that's just one of many colonias, right? And it's called Colony Ridge. They don't even hide it what it is. Colony Ridge. Yeah. And so now, why isn't Texas doing mass deportations? Why not? Well, first of all, Governor Abbott got a total over the years of about $1.5 million from Trey Harris that's actually known. Trey Harris is the developer of Colony Ridge. So they have a relationship built on money. I think Abbott might be Trey Harris might be the 15th donor to, on level of magnitude to Governor Abbott, something like along those lines. It's a ballpark. He's a serious donor, right? And so Governor Abbott still has open door with him. He was seen at a table with Trey Harris. Governor Abbott and Trey Harris were at the same table within the last month or two, right? So I mean, this is the thing. Law enforcement across America, there's a provision called 287G, golf, 287G. 287G is a provision that will allow federal law enforcement to basically train up and deputize local law enforcement across the country, whether that be municipal or at the county or parish level or state level, so that they are able to take into custody people that are wanted for crossing the border illegally or being here illegally, right? So in other words, with 1 week of training, law enforcement can go and be certified to do this. Now, one of the things that you can do with 287G is if you do a traffic stop or catch somebody shoplifting or whatever, some interaction with them that leads you to wonder, is this person in the country legally? You can just run it on the ICE database and get a result back in a minute or two, right? And if it's, no, this person needs to be taken into custody or whatever, you'll know that instantly. But only one state out of 49 is actually doing this, and that's Florida. Florida is the only non-sanctuary state, despite what all the rest may say. Tennessee, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, whatever, Alaska, all are sanctuary states. And the reasons that they're using for this are they don't have enough manpower. All right. You don't have enough manpower. You got enough manpower to give traffic tickets, but not to take people in who are literally raping and murdering across the country at this point. Literally. We know huge amounts of Chinese have come through who are highly suspected of being MSS, Ministry of State, that's their CIA, right? A Ministry of State Security, or PLA, their army. We've got huge numbers of people like this. We got huge numbers of Iranians, Afghans, Pakistanis. One guy who recently shot a Jewish man, Todd Bensman, has written about him. I saw the name in one of Todd's articles. And the guy was from Mauritania, Africa, and he was apparently screaming Allahu Akbar, shot a Jewish guy, and his name was in Todd's article. So I looked up his name on a database. I have a database of over 1 million people that came through the Darien Gap, 1.05. I think about 1.4 million came through during Biden's time. I don't have all the records, but I have a little bit over 1 million, 1,050,000, right? And so, and this guy was on the record. I mean, he came through the Darien Gap, or he was put into the database on January 2nd, 2023, which means he was actually helped by HIAS, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society literally helped a jihadist come through who then shot a Jew, yelling Allahu Akbar. Now, I have said this on talks and speeches and interviews that you're going to have Jews getting killed by people screaming Allahu Akbar, that HIAS, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, helped across the Darien Gap. And that's a fact. That guy did. So another example of somebody murdering people who were helped by Catholic Charities, HIAS, United Nations, Norwegian Refugee Councils, Doctors Without Morals, all these guys. Another one was Ibarra, the guy who murdered Laken Riley. He came from the Darien Gap. He's on the records. I know what bus he got on. His brothers came through months later, and I see what bus they got on the bus together. They ended up in the United States. They all ended up arrested. One of them for murdering Laken Riley. They all ended up in jail, one for life. And so we've had millions come through like this, yet our law enforcement have better things to do. Like what? What is better to do than defend our country against invasion? Even Texas.
I thought that was the big Trump push. You know, we may not be doing mass deportations, but we're going to get rid of the criminals, right? I mean, that was the promise.
Texas, listen, United States government, Trump should call every one of these governors on a group Zoom call, if the ones that'll come on, and say, look, we'll cut all of your funding, cut all state funding for every state, including Texas, that doesn't do this. I mean, if you want to do mass deportations, it takes a group effort. And so the excuses that people are using is that there's not enough ICE agents. That's like child level stuff. That's the kind of idiocy that the people that were saying we can't close the Darien Gap. And I said with you before, if I had a table full of generals sitting in front of me and I was asking them about what are their plans for closing the Darien Gap, if I had one general say we can't do it, I would say you're dismissed. I spent months down there. Instantly, when Trump was in office, it was closed, right? Mostly closed. There's a drip drop coming through. What concerns me now, though, is that it's only a spring-loaded faucet closure. I mean, the spigot's off for now, but it's spring-loaded. It will turn itself back on if we don't dismantle the United Nations. We have to defund, dismantle, defang, and start prosecuting some members of the United Nations because this is just going to start again, right? So there's no mass deportations going on, period. It's just not happening. There's a little bit there that's great for eye candy, and people go, oh, Daddy Trump is doing it. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah.
And now he's able to use as an excuse the local law enforcement that they're not doing it. And they are not. It's true. They are not. There are a lot of local law enforcement who clearly want to do it, including here in Texas. However, here in Texas, the Texas DPS, the Department of Public Safety, which is like Texas FBI, it's like the Florida FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement. It's like Texas FBI. The Texas DPS, Department of Public Safety. First of all, I personally witnessed them helping the invasion into Texas. I personally saw it. I got it on video, really close, very close, like 10 feet away. I got it many times. Texas DPS helped with the invasion, period, full stop. Next, Texas DPS was very clear in this House oversight Texas House meeting. It was testimony. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll send you the link. But
okay.
DPS at about the 42-minute mark is actually saying that they don't want to participate in 287G. They don't want to participate in the mass deportations. Texas DPS says it crystal clear at a Texas House conference call, right? Or Texas House, actually not just conference call, but it was also a meeting, right? It was a physical meeting. And so
the Texas legislature is like really captured, right? I mean, you got them, they've got them, passing laws that you can't do a meme. I mean, it's pretty damn bad in Texas.
Let me give you the guy's name. The guy's name is Lieutenant Colonel Jason Taylor. He's the Deputy Director of Law Enforcement Operations at the DPS. His name, again, is Lieutenant Colonel Jason Taylor. He is the Deputy Director, Law Enforcement Operations at Texas DPS. That's the top dog right there. He's the Deputy Director. Obviously, he's speaking for the man, and he mentions that in his talk there in front of the Texas House, right? He says, for instance, if we're taking troopers, special agents, rangers off the line to process, then I think we're diminishing some of the public safety aspects of our agency, in my opinion. And he goes on and on and on. In other words, you're just a little child you're one of those children that would have been dismissed from the table immediately. These people, so many people told me over the past 4 years, there's no way to close the Darien Gap. And I'm like, child, next. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I'm talking people that work for the U.S. government, intelligence people, military people, no way to close it. I'm like, it is absolute child's play. One enabled captain could close the Darien Gap. And again, it was closed at least twice recently. One was during the pandemic, closed, locked down for more than a year. Nobody got through. Second, now that Trump is in office, it's almost completely closed. Maybe 5 people coming in a day now. Down from 1 month, there was 89,000, right? It's child's play to close it if that's what you want to do. If it's not what you want to do, you just make excuses like this, like we don't have enough ICE agents, or it's going to take people away from other things like guarding the ice cream stand or something, right?
So this guy's talking about public safety. Well, the number one threat to public safety is criminal gangs on the streets, right? So
actual invasion by China, invasion. They're coming here running dope grows. China is pulling fentanyl in. Actual real invasion in the real sense, not any kind of loose talk with loose usage of the word. I mean, war invasion is happening, and this punk will not even, he is a treasonous punk. He should be dismissed from the force. In fact, all the top leadership at the Department of Public Safety in Texas should be removed. And Governor Abbott, so-called Governor Abbott, who's World Economic Forum, they're not doing it. They're just not going to do it. Remember, Texas DPS, and I have good friends who either are or were in DPS who don't agree with this. They want to shut it down. They want to do mass deportations. It's not like everybody in DPS is bad. That's absolutely false. The people at DPS are the ones that supply me so much information about this, right? They want it changed. They are run like the military is, like I had a call the other day. I was on a call, let's say. It was a House Oversight Committee call about this, and they were discussing what they should do, right? This is like 3 days ago now, right? Mm-hmm. They were discussing what they should do. How should they, who should they defund? I'm like, United Nations. They didn't even want to hear that. They didn't want to hear it. And then at one point, one of them on the call says, we shouldn't go after HIAS, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, Catholic Charities, and all these faith-based organizations, because that'll set, basically it would be bad politically, right? I'm like, who are these idiots, right? Yeah. I mean, listen, okay, let's go ahead and couch this in different terms. Shouldn't go after faith-based organizations like Catholic Charities, HIAS, Lutheran Services, who are invading the United States and Europe. So let's go to the faith-based organizations: Catholic Charities, HIAS, Lutheran Services, many more, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. These are faith-based organizations. He's saying we shouldn't do those because it'll hurt people's feelings. We're way beyond hurting people's feelings. I don't care about hurting anybody's feelings. We've got to mass deport. It's simply not happening. I don't see it happening. I think Homan is, and I have a lot of insider on this from various angles. I don't think Homan is enabled. I think Tom Homan, everything that everybody has ever told me about Tom Homan is he's a serious man. He's very serious. He's very competent. He's very capable. He's very serious. And at this point, he's not enabled, right? And I'm told from the Trump side that people are frustrated with Homan because Homan's not doing it, but Homan's not enabled. So Homan's obviously, what I think is happening, I'll give you some.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah.
I think Homan is there as a punching bag. I think he is there. There was no intention to close the border. I've said this no intention to do mass deportation. I said this many times. If we're really serious about all this, we're going to defund the United Nations. First stop. But I mean, when you're in office, free the January 6 people and boom, go after United Nations. It should be in sort of the first day should have had quite a few things like a bunch of pardons, free the January 6 people, and go right after United Nations and start with the mass deportations immediately. None of this is happening. None, right? We're not going after you. So why is Homan there? Homan's got great reputation. I haven't heard one single bad word about Homan. I mean, which is pretty amazing given my circle of friends and contacts. He's serious. So I've talked with Homan. He called me about going to the Darien Gap. We didn't go. He's busy on other things. Obviously, he's got a lot of fires. But I think Homan is there to take the blame. I think he will not be enabled. That's my assessment based on, hey, this is May. This is mid-May, 2025. Right. I mean, we're way into this at this point. People are talking about, we got to get this through. We got to get that through. It's like, listen, this joint call I did about 3 days ago. Yeah, 3 days ago on the House Oversight Committee, they were still talking about planning to plan. I mean, they should have come into the day Trump was inaugurated. It should have been execute, right? Actually, the day he was elected, they should have been getting lined up to execute this, right? They don't even know who to go after. They're like intentionally stupid, or they just are stupid. Lack of testosterone. Remember, cowardice is the germ of treason. A lot of these people that are in these positions are yes men. They're perpetual yes men. They will always be yes men. They're perpetual cowards, and they will be perpetual traitors. That's why a lot of them are in this House Oversight Committee. Based on that conversation, no chance. There's no chance we're going after the United Nations. Based on that conversation, it's like walking into a room and and you're walking into a restaurant and smelling the toilet at the front door, right?
Yeah.
It's clearly not a place you want to eat. It's not a place that you want to be. And I can see with this House Oversight Committee call that they're not going to defund the United Nations. In fact, they're going to be body blocking anybody who goes after HIAS or Catholic Charities or any of these people. That was clear from that call. That's actually, Americans need to be prepared for this, right? We need to be prepared for it's not going to happen under this administration. It's crystal clear. So we need to prepare ourselves that Daddy's not home in town. The mass deportations are not occurring. United Nations is not being dismantled, and choosing the least of evils every single time. Red pill, blue pill. I mean, seriously, that's a mind game in and of itself. Red pill, blue pill. That's part of the game that you have to select a red or a blue pill. How about I don't take pills, and I don't take pills from people I don't even know. What's your name?
Yeah.
Morpheus? I don't even know your last name.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
We recommend you take this moment to do what we're about to do, which is enjoy an Alp.
Name. Just met you. You're offering me pills and a glass of water. These are your choices. I'm like, how about there's other choices? I can walk out the door, and anybody who's really been put up for the election in Texas or anywhere, Florida, and you can see there's a big architecture behind them, that's the red pill or blue pill. It's the same pill. It doesn't matter. It's like this jab or that jab. Hey, they're all death jabs, right? They're all the same. They're all death jabs.
So Texas has the same election problems that Florida has, but everybody's saying it's all great, but it's not. I mean, it starts with the elections, right? I mean, that's how, and they're being stolen left and right, and that's why we're getting people in that aren't doing the right thing because they're working for somebody else. So, what would you suggest people do at this point, Mike?
At this point, first of all, the elections clearly are being stolen. That's obvious, right? And part of it's being stolen just by people. Part of it's just huge psychological operations, like getting people to. Whenever I go after Abbott, they would say the same thing when I go after Trump. It's always, who do you want? Harris? Of course I don't want Harris. That's like stepping on something on the sidewalk, right? Biden's the same way. Clinton the same way. Bush the same way. Obama, good grief. I mean, the same way. These are the same little piles of crap on the street, right? But it's always, but who do you want? That one or this one? And it was the same way in the Texas elections. When I was calling out Abbott before the last elections, like, this guy is bad. People kept saying, well, who do you want? Abbott or Beto? Well, they put Beto up, just like putting Harris up, because nobody's going to vote for that babbling idiot except for people on drugs.
It's like Stacey Abrams or Kemp. Same, and Kemp is going to Davos. Oh, we got to have Kemp because he's better than. I don't want Stacey Abrams, but Kemp is going to Davos and giving free passes to chemical companies from China and Georgia.
It's such a simple game, too.
Yeah,
it's a simple game. It's remember the Princess Bride where they're drinking, they're playing the game of wits, and the game of wits, the one guy gets poisoned and dies, and Wesley, the guy that poisoned him is like, they were both poisoned, but I built up a tolerance to this. Well, that's what Abbott is. He's the poison, right? We didn't go for that one. That was too obvious. So we took Abbott and died, right? We took Trump and died. We took, I didn't take Obama. I was against Obama from the very first, and the same with obviously Biden and Harris and all these clowns. I mean, it's very clear that the average Joe, especially with the amount of intoxicants flowing in this country, every time I come back to, or keep in mind, I spend most of my time downrange, but I have been all over this country, except for Alaska, extensively traveled around America. I went to school. I grew up in Florida. I went to school in California twice, right? And you know what I mean? I've seen this country in great detail, far more than most Americans ever will. I'm very familiar with the United States. I'm also familiar with downrange. I've been to 99 countries. Most of my life has been downrange and wars and that sort of thing. And so I've seen a lot of things. Some fish won't mix well in the same aquarium. That's one of the things I've learned in my travels. I've also learned that people are easily fooled, and they want to be fooled. You have to, people have to get out of any mindset that says, I can't have that thought. That thought's off limits to me, right? If thoughts that are off limits, like, hey, Abbott might actually be a bad guy, or Trump, or Harris, or Obama, Clearly, he was no sooner in the office when he was becoming ultra racist in the open, right?
Sure.
Some of us warned about that before he was in office. It's the same play. So we have to vote for and support people. First of all, one thing you can do is stop giving any support to anybody who's not doing mass deportations, including Trump. If Trump comes up with excuses, don't support him. We don't have time for excuses. That's little child stuff, right? We need men and women who get up and work to get things done. If Texas, if Missouri, if Minnesota will not take part in 287G on these mass deportations, start cutting their funding. Do whatever you can to put pressure holds on them, right? Do whatever you can to stop these. Now, we may have states, again, will start to break off. We already see that happening right now. Of course, that's what China wants. I totally get this. Trust me. I mean, I've been to China. I've seen this happen all over the world, by the way. And there are people that are working very hard to break us apart. And one of the major weapons is mass invasion from tens of millions of people over the long years who shouldn't be here at all. They're never going to learn English. And by the way, it's important to learn English. Those who are like, the racist, just shut up. Get out of here. Got no time for it. When you're doing anthropological warfare, the main Tower of Babel, when God wanted to split people up, divide and conquer, Tower of Babel, speak your own languages, right? When we were doing the security for the Panama Canal, in other words, 1903, we formed Panama, started building the Panama Canal. One of the securities for the Panama Canal back in those days, more than 100 years ago, was to get everybody to speak Spanish, right? Mm-hmm. We wanted everybody to speak Spanish. You can speak your other. I'm out with the Indians all the time. I'm out with Imbara Indians. They message me every day. I'm out in the jungle with them all the time. I love them. They speak Imbara, but they also speak Spanish. I'm out with Kuna Indians a lot too. They speak Kuna, and they're proud of speaking Kuna, but they speak Spanish, right? It's sort of Spanification. You want them to speak Spanish, the same language, and your anthropologists are out there studying their anthropological firmware, their cultural firmware, to find ways to get them to get along, right? First, you need to speak the same language. And because generally when people speak the same language, they can often find ways to get along anyway, right? So the language barrier in itself tends to separate people eventually in bad ways. Now, Thailand, we helped King Rama IX, the former excellent king, actually, with what's called the Thaiification program. Thailand, again, is strategically very important. I spent a lot of time in Thailand. I'm not talking about Taiwan, also important, but I'm talking about Thailand, right? Mm-hmm. So Thailand, when the king...
I spent 3 months in Thailand. I know it well. Back in my Air Force days. So flew all over there.
Yeah, I mean, I know you know. I'm talking about for people that get confused. They're like, oh, Thailand, I'm going surfing in Taiwan soon, and they get them mixed up. There's totally different places, very far apart, different languages, different cultures, the whole thing. But the point is with the Thaiification program, Thailand is actually many peoples. If you land at Suvarnabhumi Airport or somewhere Don Muang Airport, you're in Chiang Mai Airport, start looking at all the different faces of Thai people. Within an hour, you're going to see so many different sorts of people, very different, right? Very different features, skin colors, but they all speak Thai and they all see themselves as Thai. How did that happen? Just in the Isan area alone, there's about 17 major languages like Khmer, Lao, Karen, so many Hmong. There's so many different languages there, right? And you can speak all your original languages. Great, please do. But speak Thai, right? Mm-hmm. And they got the Thai people to all speak Thai, to be proud to speak Thai, to be proud to speak Thai well, and to write Thai well, and be proud to be resilient. Be proud to be Thai. Every day they play the national anthem in Thailand, and people actually stop in a moment of silence for the national anthem. So they made them proud to be Thai. That is that remains, but there's people attacking it now because they reverse the polarity on these things. That is what made Teflon Thailand. People are proud to be Thai, and they should be very proud to be Thai. Likewise with Panama. The United States put a lot of effort. Now, of course, when we were helping with Thaification, King Rama IX did all the heavy lifting. We helped a lot in the background. The United States did, helping build roads and that sort of thing. And he, the moral backbone of Thailand was King Rama IX. He was excellent, great friend of the United States as well. And he pulled that country together and made it strong, right? And Thailand is the best country in the whole region to be in. That's why people fly halfway around the world to spend a month there. As you know, you were there for 3 months. Yeah. And so, and everybody, a lot of people want to live in Thailand, like people from Paris and New York want to live in Thailand. So now, Panama, we did the same thing. Part of the security for the Panama Canal was to create a stable Panama, right? To get everybody to speak Spanish, to be proud to be Panamanian, right? And of course, that was later used to bite us because the enemies, like China actually, and United Nations came in and said, "Hey, Panama, United States are colonists, right?" Actually, we actually created Panama in 1903, but and we only had that 10-mile stretch, 5 miles on each side of the canal, which we had by treaty when we formed Panama. That was why we formed Panama. Everybody knew it. And anyway, using the information war, United Nations helped, through Jimmy Carter and other traders, like basically the Abbott of the time, gave Panama away. People say gave Panama Canal back to Panama. That's nonsense. Panama never had the Panama Canal, and they didn't build it. We built it, right? Yeah, very few Panamanians even worked on the Panama Canal. Even as laborers, very few Panamanians worked on it. You got to keep in mind, back then, Panama was largely, Panama is a sediment of colonists, including, many of the Latins will talk about decolonization, but many of them are from Spanish descent, the ultimate colonizers, right? So, I mean, you look at the sediment of human colonization, whoever the last one is the one you say, that's the colonizer. Like the Hawaiians are being used in an information war.
It's like the Native Americans are the, what do they call it? Indigenous people. Well, they killed all the tribes who were there before them.
Exactly, like the Hawaiians. The Hawaiians killed the people that were there before, genocided them, right? Straight up. But now the Chinese are doing an information war in Hawaii, trying to get a lot of the Hawaiians to say, the colonizers, we got it. But the thing is if we get out of Hawaii, if Hawaii secedes, Hawaii will be taken for sure. And then those indigenous Hawaiians, they won't like what happens because they'll be the new Tibetans, right? They'll be
totally agree. So let me ask you this: free media, I think, is kryptonite to this globalist agenda, and that's why we're pushing this so hard. And what you're doing is so important. But what are you focusing on going forward? I mean, you've been highly effective. All these people are calling you to go to the Darien Gap, to the border. You've been highly effective. But where are you focusing going forward?
Continuing to be effective. As you know, my predictions have been incredibly accurate, actually, to the point where it's getting spooky even to me. It means I understand basically what they're doing. And so I'm constantly panning for gold for 24 karat information that's first principle truth, right? Like going to the Darien Gap, seeing for myself, going across the entire southern border, going to 30 countries in the last 4 years, looking at the routes and the resources and what's happening in Luxembourg and Netherlands and Japan and whatever, all these different places, and figuring out what's going on so that I can predict accurately, for instance, 4 years ago, that screwworms would make it back to the United States. I was openly predicting that in writing many times and on interviews, and boom, screwworms can be a big deal for us. For those who don't know what they are, just web search my name, Michael Yon, and screwworms, and you'll see about 4 years ago, I was publishing that I think we're going to be attacked with screwworms as a weapon, and here we go. It's happening.
Against our food supply on the beef. It's biowarfare, essentially.
So if your paradigm is accurate, the way you're looking at a situation or a people or a person, you should not be surprised by things that they do, right? Like if you know somebody is a bank robber and just did 10 years in prison for bank robbery, and then he moved into your neighborhood, and then the bank, which has never been robbed, suddenly gets robbed, and you predict, hey, it may have been my neighbor. You know what I mean? So you've got some, your paradigm about the situation is that. Well, I'm always developing my paradigms. I've been doing this since I was a teenager, studying physics so much. I always loved physics, and I was learning how to think, not what to think, but how to do your own thought hygiene, how to develop theories, hypotheses, and never get married to them. If it's wrong, throw it out or keep tweaking it until one, you're never surprised. If you feel the emotion of surprise, then obviously something's wrong. Like I don't understand why he did that. Well, the way I'm looking at him and or the situation is something's wrong with it. So I need to tweak it. And we all do this naturally, but you need to be really hardcore about it, precise, right? And with non-emotional, just very fact-based. So I'm constantly looking for this clean information. That's why I went to Germany several times before Nord Stream was attacked, saying I think somebody's going to disrupt Nord Stream, because under the paradigm that I'm continue to operate under is that there are entities that want to put us into global famines. Those global famines, if I were going to deindustrialize Europe, split Germany from Russia and other goals that they have, and create global famines, what would I hit? I would hit Nord Stream. I would hit BASF. So Masako Ganaha and I went to BASF. It's a factory in Germany. It's a huge in Ludwigshafen, Germany, on the Rhine River. We went to that factory twice. The second time we went to it was 14 days before Nord Stream got hit. We were warning. We even talked about it in the plant, actually, with somebody in the plant. Then, and I also predicted Groningen gas field, the biggest gas field in Europe. I predicted well in advance many times that I thought they were going to close that, and they did. But I've said this to you before. I keep repeating it. How did I get these wild, off the wall, throwing a dart very far, like 100-meter dart shots and hitting a bullseye? Because we do understand what they're doing. We don't understand everything that they're doing, but we understand some of their basic core goals. Core goals to depopulate planet Earth, right? Largely depopulated. That's obvious. How are you going to get there? Famines is one. Death jabs is another.
Wars.
Spraying in the skies. I don't know, right? There's many things that they're doing. Decrease our food supply, mass invasions so that we fight each other, so that the nation states are too weak to do anything and they become captured, right? So if you are going to do this, and if you are highly enabled, which they are, what would you do? Carver matrix, you do your assessment on targets. What would I hit? What's the most economical targets to hit so that I can hit the fewest targets most economically to get what I want done, right? And one thing that I would do for Europe to split Russia from Germany, to really badly damage the German economy, which then badly damages the European economy, which badly damages a lot of economies, but also reduce the food supply by increasing fertilizer prices. I would take out Nord Stream, and I would take out Groningen gas fields. That's what I would do. And then and I said this many times, and they did it, right? What I'm getting to is, I've also said many times, the first thing that Trump needs to do when he gets in office is take out United Nations. If he does not do that, this is all bullshit. If he does not do that, this is all a game. So now, this is May 2025. We do not see any mass deportations going on. We do not see nobody's touching United Nations. I was on that House Oversight Committee call just 3 days ago. They don't even have a plan to plan yet. They're talking about making a plan to plan. I mean, so it's just not going to get done. Remember, Trump only has WASTA, or let's say heavy influence, for maybe 18 more months, if that, right?
Yeah.
And then he's going to be out of office.
Well, he may lose Congress too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And so he's basically an autumn leaf ready to fall off the tree. He'll be gone. We'll soon forget Trump was ever president, and it'll be the next thing. And people, what can we do? First of all, you have to be courageous. You have to be courageous and just face the truth. The truth is, if we keep selecting the least of evils, the other one is evil. They're both red pill, blue. They're pills from a guy we don't know. We have to elect people and work hard that elections are not stolen. We have to elect people that aren't even on the menu. They're not on any of the menus. Don't give money to any less of the evils. If you're telling myself, well, he's the less of the evils, let me give him $10 million, so I can have access to the lesser of evil. Now, if you're a foreign person, like if you're from a foreign country, that's a different game. Of course, you're going to play that game because you don't care about the United States. You're either milking it dry, as some are, like Israel, obviously milking us dry, or you are actively trying to destroy it, like China, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna throw their money around appropriately. But Americans should never select the worst of evils. You need to run for office yourself. Whatever you do, don't give them any money. Don't give them any support. Don't say any good words about them. Giving good words or hiding from the fact that mass deportations are not occurring, or that the United Nations is not being dismantled, is actually supporting the destruction of the United States. Remaining silent and pretending that Fauci fooled everybody is, people are falling out of the trees dead every day now from the jabs, right?
Yeah.
They're clearly depopulating us. They're clearly fooling the critical mass of people. What can people do? Courage, courage, courage. Cowardice is the germ of treason, and cowardice makes people treasonous to themselves, right? Treason starts from within. First, you're treasonous to yourself, and then you're treasonous to your family, and then you're
courage is the main thing, because without that, you're not going to get any action at the local level. The elections are not. So people can make a big difference. They still can. Support free media. That's a huge one. I mean, because there's conservative ink is conservative ink. They won't talk about the elections. You will not have Chris Gleason on any of these other channels and talk about the blank ballots theft in Baltimore and in Florida and in Texas. That you just won't. I mean, it's shocking to see, but there's very few outlets like yourself that will actually get the truth out there. But anyway, we're about out of time, Michael. Is there anything else you want to get out?
No, sir. I'm still in the fight. I was riding down the road with Doc Chambers the other day. Pete Doc Chambers. I was actually giving a talk with him last night. We were together. And one of the things that we're both fighting 7 days a week, right? And
Same
like
here, brother.
You too. And there's quite a few of us, actually. There's a lot of us. And like Doc said, we're gonna go over the line. We're gonna fight to our final day, right? We're not going to quit. We will not tire. We will not, we will not run off and just hide somewhere in a jungle and live alone. I mean, people like us could easily do that, right?
Sure.
Right. But we're doing the most dangerous thing in the world. The most dangerous thing in the world is to talk in these microphones. Nothing is more dangerous than that.
So true. So true, my friend. Thank you, Michael. I want to have you back.